The elements of art are listed over here to your right. We looked at them the last time we were together, and we're going to go over them on this paper today. If you look at line, you'll see there's a straight line, there's a zigzag line, and there's a curvy line. And we're not going to color those in, we're just going to leave them that way. Shape. There are geometric shapes and there are organic shapes. Geometric shapes are lines and angles and circles. Organic shapes are curvy lines. Okay, it comes from the word organ, which means life or alive. So these are life lines. You okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I want you to pick a color. Actually, you can pick any colors you want, and we're going to color in the geometric shapes and the organic shapes. And when you color, I want you to press hard so that the color is definitely there, if you know what I mean.
What color is that?
It doesn't matter. Oh, and don't use black or brown. Stick with real colors. Color inside the lines and make it nice and neat, please. Don't forget to push sort of hard with your pencil so it's a nice bright color. So when we talk about shapes, there are geometric shapes and there are organic shapes. The next one is the color wheel, and it actually tells you what colors. So you need to do what it tells you. There's red. If you were here in 6th grade, I taught you the color wheel. Red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors. And use the light blue, please. If you use the dark, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But use the light blue and the light green if you haven't already. Okay? And then when you mix blue and red, you get violet. Violet is a secondary color. When you mix blue and yellow, you get green. And green is a secondary color.
What about black?
Black's not a color.
I mean, not black. What about gray?
Gray is not a color either.
When is
Orange. The colors, remember we talked about those. Color is divided light. Color is the colors of the rainbow.
light warm
And you don't see grays in the rainbow. You don't see blacks in the rainbow. You don't see browns in the rainbow. However, browns and grays are called neutrals. Andrew, turn around, please. Then we have what's called texture. Texture is the way something feels or looks like it feels. In art, we call it the surface quality. Like my table is smooth. Sandpaper is rough. My dog's fur is soft. cactus are prickly. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
That's texture, and we don't have to color that one in. Texture. Then we're going to value. Value is the lights and darks in a work. And if you look closely at your paper, you'll see that this square is the darkest, and then this one is a step lighter, and this one is a step lighter until it gets to white. And what I want you to do is pick either blue, purple, or green, and we're going to color this square in green and push really hard and get it the darkest green that we can get it with the color pencil. Now this thing is called a value scale, and usually they're about 10 blocks long, but this one is short. Then the next one, I'm going to press hard, but not as hard as I did with the first one. It should be a step lighter. I should be able to tell a difference. And then the next one should be even lighter. And you can either leave this white, or you can barely do it green, so that you might not even notice it if it's there. And the next one we're going to work on is space. Space is the emptiness around you. Wherever an object isn't, space is there. And this illustrates space because it's an object with a hole cut in it, so the space is inside of there, and there's a place cut out here. So let's color the front part just a medium blue, or what blue, medium color, whatever color you choose. And we're going to use the same color for the whole thing. We're just going to push differently and make different values. So I'm not pushing as hard as I can. I'm just going to make this a medium blue. The top, I'm going to make very, very light, like the light is hitting it. The side right here, I'm going to do a medium blue, only I'm making it a little darker than the front, so it shows up. Then this one, I'm going to push really hard and make this one dark blue. And then this one I'm going to do medium again and make it just a little darker than the front. And see, the value helps with the depth too. This one's going to be medium, just a little darker than the front. And then this bottom one is going to be really dark. So it helps the illusion of depth. So space is where something isn't. Is everybody caught up? Okay. Value of form. Form is 3D shapes. See, there's a ball that would have been a circle in shape. Here's a cube that would have been a square. There's a cylinder, and it would have been just a rectangle as a shape. There's a pyramid, it would have been a triangle, and a cone, which would have been a triangle. And it has the value on there. So what I'm going to do is the part that's dark, I'm going to make as dark as I can. And then I'm going to make the top as light as I can. And then I'm going to make the front medium. And you can use different colors for different shapes. Just remember to push really hard where the dark parts are, and then you're going to fade and get lighter as you go up. For the cone, dark, and then as you go across, you're going to lighten up. The same is true with the cylinder. As dark as you can, where the darkest value is, and then you're going to go across and get lighter and lighter as you go across. And I'm going to do the top really light. For the pyramid, I'm going to do one side really, really dark and one side really, really light. Form is always three-dimensional. So we have line, shape, color, texture, value, space, and form. Those are the parts of art. Just like we talked about the parts of a car, these are the parts of art. You have to have these to make art. Now when you're finished, turn to page 4, please. These are the principles of design, which are on the posters to your left. You have to have the elements of art first, and then how you use them creates the principles of design. And we're going to start with contrast. Can anybody tell me why this picture is a picture of contrast? Gavin, what do you think?
On the mountains, it could be the
Not exactly. Yes, ma'am. Okay, there's two different designs. We have stripes here and circles here, and they're different. They're like way different. And there's a zigzag. Gavin?
It's almost like whenever you contradict colors, whenever one color is like completely opposite from the other, would be coming up.
Yes, we call those complementary colors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use complementary colors. What I'm using is violet and yellow. And I'm actually going to color the stripes, every other stripe violet and every other stripe yellow. And that's going to make it really bright and really stand out. And you'll need to push your pencil sort of hard to get it nice and dark. Now the purple and white make a nice pattern, but when I add the yellow to it, it's really going to brighten it up. Because violet and yellow are opposite colors on the color wheel. When you put them together, they make each other look brighter. Okay, there's the top. And then I'm going to pick two other opposite colors for the bottom. I think I'm going to use blue and orange. And I'm going to color my circles in and push pretty hard with the blue. It can be dark or light blue, whichever one you like the best. Now remember, it's contrast already because stripes and circles are totally different. And contrast means putting unlike things together. Then I'm going to do the background with orange. If you remember last year, we did color schemes that matched your personality. Complementary colors were the leader person, people who like to lead. So we have a contrast in shape and we have a contrast in color. There we go. Contrast. I'll give you a minute. Cut the whistling out, please. Andrew, I want you to face the front. Every time I look up, you're turned around and all I see is your back. And if it happens again, it's going to be your official warning. And if you already have official warning, it's going to be your first infraction. Yes, sir? No, you do that at the beginning of class. Emphasis. When you emphasize something, you bring attention to it. How is this brought attention to? There's two ways. Clay?
Shaded.
It's shaded and the others aren't, so that makes it noticeable. Blake?
It's the biggest one.
It's the biggest one. It almost shouts at you, you have to notice it. Okay? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one color. I'm going to color it in really dark. And then I'm going to use the same color for all the little squares, but I'm going to make them light and medium and just all different values.
Did you choose any color?
Yes. Just not black or brown. So I might want to do a really light one there. I might want to do a medium one there. I might want to do a dark one right there. Maybe a medium one here. Maybe a light one there. Maybe a light one there. Maybe a medium one there. Really light there. Really light there. So even though they're all different values, the darkest value jumps out. And even though they're all squares, the biggest square jumps out. When you emphasize something, you bring attention to it. When you emphasize words when you're typing for English, you bold them or you underline them, or you can even make them bigger when you're writing an English paper. Unity. Unity means a lot of different parts coming together and making one whole part. Like the United States, 50 states all together that makes one country. Okay, and what makes these unified? How did they create unity here? Layla?
That they're all different shapes they're not all, they're like different lengths.
Okay, but there's something else happening with them.
They're all
Well,
together. They're all
how?
connected.
How? Brianna? They're all overlapping. There's not one shape left to itself, is there? If you want to create unity in your drawings and paintings, then you need to overlap things. I'm going to use warm colors. reds, yellows, and oranges. And that's going to help create unity too, just by colors. So there's red, red here.
You have to make them dark or light.
No, I'm just gonna use all warm colors, which would be reds, oranges, and yellows. And that would be another way to unify them, is by the color scheme. Okay, so unity is all the different parts coming together as one. Movement. See how those little circles look like inchworms? Okay, that creates movement, the way that they're swaying here. Another way to create movement is to color them in a pattern. I think I'm going to use orange. No, I'm going to use blazer colors. I'm going to use blue and yellow. So I'm going to do every other one. And then on the next one, I'm going to do the opposite ones. Can you see how a pattern helps with the movement? It actually makes it move more. It does. It would look more like Christmas lights if we'd done them red and green. The next one is variety. Have you ever heard somebody say that variety is the spice of life? That means the more different life experiences you have, the better and more interesting your life is. So, look at variety. There's all kinds of different shapes, and we're going to make them all different colors. So I want them dark, I want them bright colors, but I want them different colors. We want a variety of colors. The variety would be all different shapes and all different colors. No. No blacks, no browns. Then we're going over to pattern. Okay? Pattern is the same shape repeated over and over again. Notice there's a pattern horizontally, square, triangle, and there's a pattern vertically, all squares, all triangles, all squares, all triangles. So what I want to do is pick two colors and alternate them. Okay? So I'm going to pick blue and green, and I'm going to do this one blue and skip this one, and I'm going to do this one blue and skip that one. I'm going to do this one blue, skip this one, do this one blue, skip this one, do this one blue, skip that one, do this one blue, and then skip that one. And then the ones that are left over, I'm going to do in green. But you can pick whatever two colors that you want. It could be three colors as long as it's a pattern. But since it's an even number, it'd probably be better if you had an even number of colors. I'm assuming you know what even and odd numbers are. Okay. So there's a pattern. You can have a pattern in line. You can have a pattern with form. You can have a pattern with shapes, a pattern with color, a pattern with texture, and a pattern with value. These are shapes and colors. Proportion. Now you should have had proportions in math at some point. They're like ratios. Okay? Let me give you an example of proportion. Several years ago, I bought my son a die-cast metal exact replica of the original Batmobile from the 1960s. And the size of it on the box was 1/17. 1/17. Do you know what that means?
Means 1/17 a fraction.
It is a fraction. Okay, but it's still in proportion to the real one.
Yeah, it's 1/17 of the real.
It's 1/17 of the original size. So if you blew it up 17 times, it would be the original size of the original one. Like exactly. Does that make sense?
Yes, sure.
That's proportion. When you look at these rectangles, they're all the same size.
Yeah.
Why? Andrew?
It's because we just added one to them, and they're eventually gonna make it to the big one that was the closest.
Okay, but Julian?
They're all the same size, but this looks like it because each one's going back on them.
Okay, the distance that they are changes them to our eye, but if we brought this one up as close as this one, they'd be the same.
Oh.
Okay? So you can color them in any kind of color you want. I think I'm going to use the same color, but I'm going to use value to separate them. Okay, so proportion is like a ratio in math. Sort of like like when we drew in perspective last year, we did the sidewalks and how the squares got smaller as they went back, even though we really knew in our head that the squares are the same size. The distance makes it different. Okay, last but not least, balance. Balance is being visually equal. Symmetry means it's symmetrical. That means it's exactly the same size, like butterfly wings. Or did you ever do that painting where you put paint on one half and then close it and rub it and then open it up?
Yeah.
That's symmetrical. Asymmetry or asymmetrical means it's balanced, but it's not exact. We have one big rectangle balanced by two small ones. It's the same weight, but it's not divided up in the same way. Radial balance, think of the spokes in a bicycle wheel. Radial balance is for round things. There's usually a center point of gravity and things are flying out from it. Okay? So there's three types of balance: symmetrical, asymmetrical, and radial. And you can color these in any way you would like, except don't use black or brown.